Hey y'all, it says I'm live, so let's hope that that's true. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be sitting. Thank you for joining me for this first episode of the Q&A. Today we're going to be answering your questions and reading a few comments. Yeah, George, it kind of takes me a couple of seconds. The latency on this thing is about 20 seconds. So before it let me know I was live, a few seconds had passed. So, but we're going to talk today about the video I posted earlier today, just to see if anybody had any questions or answers. I didn't get to go as in-depth into that subject as I really wanted to. First off, before I get into that, though, I wanted to say hi and say thanks for joining me to some folks over here in the chat. We have Frankie CNC and Woodworking, always hanging in the live chats. Appreciate it very much, my friend. George Chambers has joined us. Vasilis Mathas, I hope I didn't just tear apart your name, sir. Mr. Charles Lawrence, Palmer Hudson. I've got a few folks over here to the side. Feel free to jump into the chat and ask any questions, throw out any advice, any topics, any suggestions. So today, good morning, Bill and Mervyn. Good to see you over there. Today's video, this morning I got into making patterns and tracing that pattern, scanning it into the computer, and then taking those vectors and cleaning them up to use. Basically, when you get into scanning like that, more often than not, the vectors are just unusable. And so when you get into something heck of a lot easier. Uh, it's not necessarily a simple thing, but it's not necessarily easy, but it is rather simple. I see George Chambers over there has the first question. Why didn't I use the curve tool instead of large circles? The main reason for using the circles instead of the curve was to try to refine that curve. I could have used the curve, and in fact, on my first couple attempts, I did. But I just found that going with the circle gave me a much cleaner segment with fewer points. Okay, we lost audio when I did screen share. Oh boy. Okay, well, there's going to be a few technical hiccups, no doubt. What I'll do is make sure that I have my mic active when I go into a screen share like that. Yep, I see what the problem is, and it's not something I'm going to be able to fix right at the moment, because if I do that, we'll lose everything. So that's yet another glitch. My sources weren't exactly set up correct. Let me fix that right now. Okay, hopefully that is done correctly and you can pick up my audio now. We'll see. I'll go back and check it out. Okay, did my screen... Let's see here. Let's let the video catch up. Latency's a little bit, about 20 seconds. So it looks like I got the let me know if when I did that screen share, if everything went back to normal. I don't know if it did or not. Got it? Okay, perfect. Thank you. There's going to be a few, those of you may notice I got a new microphone over here, and I did not include that microphone in that scene. It was still going by the old headset. That made me sound like I was in a tin can at the bottom of a well. So, what I was getting at was when you scan in vectors, you usually end up with a jumbled up mess out here. And on my first attempt at making this pattern, I did use curves, and I just couldn't get them refined as well as I wanted to. So by using those circles, I not only got a smoother curve with smoother transitions, I had fewer points. When it came time to actually plot this all out and everything, if you look in here, I have fewer points, fewer nodes in this curve, where I would have a bunch more out here. But because it's a piece of a circle, there are a lot fewer points in the vector. So that was the main reason that I didn't use curves. It's just, it all comes down to whatever is simpler. So I do apologize for the length of the video. When I cut the first edit together, it was a little over an hour and 20 minutes long, and I had omitted a whole bunch of footage. I did video actually planing this piece of oak down and then going outside and cutting this puppy, but I couldn't use any of that footage because it was just too stinking long. And normally I don't like to do the time lapse with music. And looking back at that video after it was all edited and posted this morning, I went way too fast in some of those time lapses. It just went way too fast. I couldn't follow what was going on, and I apologize for that. I will make every attempt to kind of get better at that. I'm still a fledgling editor with this software, and I don't like it. Okay, George wants to know, is there a way to reduce nodes? Yes, there is, and let me go over here and show you. I did a video on this that goes into much further detail, but basically what you'll do is you'll select the vector you want to try to reduce the number of nodes on. Then you'll come down over here under Edit Objects to Curve Fit curves to selected vectors. And when you click on that, it'll bring you up kind of a preview of the nodes and points that you have in the vector. And then you can fit curves of various types to those vectors. Like you can go with circular arcs, you can go with Bezier curves, or straight lines. And if, for instance, if we were to change this to circular arcs, I can preview it, and that shows you it added to the number of curves, or the number of points rather, within the vector, because it had to do that in order to use circular arcs. If we go to Bezier curves and preview it, you see it reduced the number of points, and that helps a lot. That's normally the way I go. If I'm fitting curves to a vector, I'll select Bezier curves, preview it, and if it's reduced it enough for me, I'll go ahead and click OK. If it hasn't, I'll cancel the whole thing and come out of the tool and then try something else. Whether that means, you know, going in and eliminating points, or maybe converting a what is, let's say, this span right here, which is This is a Bezier curve, actually. I could convert this to a line, and that removed 1 point over at this end. So that's one way of reducing the number of points you have in a vector. So we're looking over here at the chat to see what's going on, watching on my TV but texting on my phone. Are we getting this message? No, Chris, don't know what you're talking about. Haven't seen any messages from you at all. So so basically, when it comes to pattern making, I got into pattern making when I got into pattern making when I was in my short-lived career in upholstery, and it was okay. Why am I still screen sharing? I thought I went back to that. Sorry about that. Good grief. That's nuts. I'll get better at this, honest. I started pattern making when I was in my short-lived career as a upholsterer, and you'd get a vehicle in that had no carpet, that somebody wanted you to carpet. You had to make a pattern, and I learned from a fellow who'd been doing it all of his life. That was his job, was the pattern maker. And basically put, that was what you do. You take cardboard, stiff paper, whatever you got, and tape it all together, flesh things out with masking tape. And then when you get done and you have your full-size pattern, you can lay it out on large paper, trace it, cut it out, and that gives the carpet makers and upholstery makers something to go by. And I've took those lessons and kind of, it followed me around. I mean, when you're making something like a foot treadle for this spinning wheel and you've got a bunch of missing material, you use that, and it's worked for me so far every time. So I mean, I do enjoy this kind of work. It's a lot of fun, but sometimes you come across problems. I mean, and this is another one of those situations, like I tell a lot of folks, this is one of those, if you build it, they will come enterprises, in that when people see what you can do, they will come up with 1,000 projects they suddenly need yesterday that they didn't even know they wanted. And as word got out about doing things like this, I mean, the spinning wheel is right behind me. I've got to get this this treadle finished and get it attached. I'm waiting on oak dowel now, and that's the holdup, because I've got to get it put together and finish it all at once. So as soon as the dowel gets here and I can get it put in, then I can finish this thing and then attach it. Get it out of here. So, do we have any other questions on the video? Aspire has really poor drawing tools. Better to learn Adobe Illustrator and open your drawing into Aspire. Depends on exactly what you're trying to do, David. Yeah, it's Aspire is pretty limited to certain tools, and there are much better tools than Adobe Illustrator. You're not going to do a lot of 3D with Adobe Illustrator. You can do some, but if you're really going to get into hot and heavy NURBS based 3D modeling, you'll want to go with something like Rhino, or Blender is another one. But those have very, very intense learning curves. So, you're kind of taking on quite a bit. No doubt they're excellent programs. I mean, I've used Rhino 5. I got to where I could more or less do what I wanted to do with it. But one of the great advantages of something like Aspire is simply that the learning curve is so gentle, just about anybody can learn how to use it. I mean, I'm living proof of that. Hey, good afternoon, Jim. Jim Simnicola in the house. Robert Melrose, make your own dowel. Yeah, I would. I don't have a fully outfitted wood shop, but what can I say? I do have a dowel maker. I just don't have that size. I could make one, but she's not in a super rush to get this wheel back. The rush is me wanting it out of here. So let's see. You can also use a camera to scan the pattern, then scale to size. Yes, you can, George. Um, that works in a lot of ways. I just find that by running it through the scanner, I get a little bit cleaner scan. Now, there's a app, and I'm not recommending this to anybody because it's still in beta testing and it's not very good. There is an app for smartphone called DXF Camera, and basically you can take a sketch, lay it down, and take a photo of it, and it will actually save that photo in DXF format that you can upload. I can put it on my computer and bring it up. But so far, those DXF files have been basically unusable. I haven't found anything really that works all that well. It'll be interesting to see that app get developed further, but I wouldn't recommend it now. It's more or less right now, it's just a toy to show you how bad technology still is. So, well, thank you, Mervin, who says I'm a great teacher. Thank you very much. I don't know how great I am. I just know the questions that I had when I was first getting started, and I just try to share what I know. I've gotten a few comments lately on how slow I speak and how some folks who translate this into other languages appreciate that. And I'll be honest, the main reason I speak so slowly is because I'm the guy that has to come back and do the closed captions. And so if I speak slowly in the video, it's easier for me to close caption it. So that's the only reason for that. Making it easy, Mervin. That's not me that makes it easy. That's Vectric that makes it easy. And I mean, hats off to these guys. Yes, there are bigger, more deluxe programs out there. I mean, industry standard is SolidWorks. I think Autodesk Inventor is running a tight second. They're getting pretty good too. But yeah, SolidWorks is pretty intense, and it's a huge hammer, especially for anything that I'm doing. And I feel the same with Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is an excellent program. If you are making parts for assemblies, especially, it's an excellent program. But it's a huge hammer when you're cutting out something like this. It's really, I mean, most of the functionality of Fusion 360 I don't think I'd ever use. So, well, I appreciate the compliments, guys, over there. It's I wasn't going to get into it, but the whole reason, well, there are two reasons I got into doing these videos, and one of them was that I kept seeing people have the same questions over and over again. So some of it was selfish on my part. I figured it was easier to give somebody a link to a video and say, here, watch this, than it is to try to type out an explanation in text, 2 or 3 times a week or more. And the other reason was, and I won't mention any names, I've told this story before, when I was first getting into CNC, I was a member over at the hashtag CNC Router Tips um, Facebook group, and a gentleman over there was trying to use VCarve Pro that came with a big CNC, and I don't remember the brand. I really don't. But he got so frustrated with not being able to do just about anything that he just finally one day pulled everything apart and put it up on Craigslist and sold it for a criminally cheap price. And I mean, he lost a few $1,000s on this thing because he just got frustrated, fed up, and decided to get out of it. And that really broke my heart because I'm talking, he had a $6,000 CNC that he sold for $500. So somebody got a deal. But it's just, I thought to myself, there's no excuse from that because just about anybody can do this. I mean, I'm proof. 5 years ago, I'd never been in the same building with a CNC. So all I've tried to do was show people what I know. And agreed, that's, I'm not an expert, believe me. I have folks asking me about their CNC sharks and what have you, and it's like, I don't know. I've never been in the same room with one, So I really can't tech support your machine because I've never seen one. Yeah, George, I know ShopBot is one of them that comes with VCarve. I think there's an Aspire option as well. I know the digital wood carver, they offer that as well. So, David saying, I speak just the right speed and thanks for not having rock music in the background. I put music in the background of time lapses when I have to, and that's just basically for my own sanity. To me, there is nothing more boring than silent footage. There's got to be something going on, and I'm not a big fan of machine noises. I hear that stuff when the CNC is running. I watch YouTube under headphones, so I try to bring the volume of the music down and normalize everything so nothing comes in and startles or makes you want to throw your headphones across the room. But there's got to be something going on. So I try to keep the volume down on it. I should be able to talk over it and hear it, even if I'm not playing the music while I'm talking. So, how I got on that, I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, I don't know anything about the ShopBots, George. I see you got yours in 04 and it didn't come with anything really usable. The first VCarve I downloaded a trial for 7.5. And I started watching tutorials and I thought, well, heck, I think even I can use this. And got into it further and got into it deeper. Then I bought it when 8.0 came out. So we're looking at 2014 or 15? 15, I believe. 15. And been running with it ever since. But I used it because I know for a fact that you cannot get in and learn the software too early. And folks who are thinking about getting into CNC, start learning the software yesterday. And I tell everybody, download all of the free trials. Try Fusion, try VCarve, try Aspire. Download all of the free trials. You'll quickly discover which one you're the most comfortable with and then focus on that one. But you can't start too early. And then just get in and play. Make your first projects rather simple. Don't try to put down a $200 piece of a material and then think you're going to do a 3D carving for your first project. It's just not gonna do it. I mean, start small. I mean, I can't tell you how many fence boards I carved up on my machine just learning how to use it. And I still do it. I'll hit the Craigslist free section and see what people are threatening to throw away. And if it's wood, I'll go pick it up to keep it out of the landfill, and I'll cut it up and play with it. So, It's just keep it simple to start and advance your skills as you get a little bit more experience. And believe me, it'll come faster than you think. So, Crystal Simpson, thank you very much. I hope you've learned a lot from the videos, and I really hope they help. Let's see. How am I liking Aspire? I love it. I love it. I wouldn't go back. I mean, just a few of the tools that are available in Aspire that aren't available in VCarve are the difference between night and day. I mean, beyond the 3D capabilities. Actually, they do have to do with the capabilities. I'm not really much of a model maker, but being able to add a few 3D touches to certain things are a big help. So, Robert Melrose, what's the difference between VCarve Pro and desktop? So far as I know, the size of the Pro, the gadgets, and you can also do project sheets in the Pro version. There are a few other little differences, nothing really huge. The gadgets are a great thing. They do help, especially if you have need for like the dovetail gadget or the rotary wrapping gadget. They're a big help. Excuse me. Let's see. Palmer Hudson wants to know, might be off subject, but do I use a probe when setting up my bits? Seems V-bits are very sensitive when setting to the surface so it carves correctly. Yes. I do have a triple edge finder from Bill Griggs over at the Maker's Guide, and I don't have one there now. I will put a link in the description box to the Maker's Guide and link you to the triple edge finder. It's a 3-way touch plate. I use it to set my X0, my Y0, and my Z0. And I set my Z0 with it exclusively. There are still times in some tool paths where I'll set my XY0 in the center of the piece of material or in a certain place, like when I'm doing a keyhole, for instance. I'll make a mark and I'll set my XY0 over that mark. But I always set the Z with my touch plate. And I'll put a link in the description to the triple edge finder. Be warned, it's a little bit of an involved installation because it depends on what you're using for controller software. In Mach 3, you do have to load another screen set that is capable of using the X and Y0 functions. All versions, all Mach 3 screens can use the Z0 function. If you're just looking to get a touch plate to set your Z0, just look for that on YouTube. Z-axis touch plate. Just search for that on YouTube. You'll find a ton of videos on how to make a touch plate. So, let's see. Jose Texera just bought the Laguna Smart Shop with the full version of Aspire. Having some problems. Set the depth for multiple tools. Any tips? Yeah, first tip would be to get a hold of Laguna tech support and talk to them, or go to the Laguna support forum, register, and ask the question over there. I have never used Laguna Smart Shop, and that would be my first suggestion. It would be to go over and talk to the pros that know your machine. They've got a support forum over there and lots of members. You are not the first person to ask that question. I'm sure of it. And I'm willing to bet you somebody over there has gone through the same thing and can walk you through it. Just downloaded the Aspire trial. Which of my videos do you need to watch to get started with Aspire? That's a loaded question. I currently have, I believe I'm up to 28 videos in the Vectric for Beginners series. I would say if you haven't already, start with episode 1 and go through the list. Um, After the live stream here, look down below the video pane, right underneath where the video is, and click on my name. That'll take you to my channel. I believe it was last week or the week before, I actually posted a video on how to get to the playlists on my channel. It's called Master Index, and that's an index of all of the videos, and that'll start you at square one and move you all the way through. Also, if you think I'm too basic, or you're not at the basic level, I will always recommend Vectric's tutorials. Always. They do some excellent stuff. So, okay, thank you. Okay, Jose is having a tech coming to do the right settings next Tuesday. Perfect. And let me give you, I do have a pointer on that, Jose. Write down a list of everything you want to ask and have it right there handy. I mean, make him shiver in his boots when he walks into the shop, because you whip out this long sheet of questions. I mean, you're getting the tech support and you've got him right there. Make him lunch, don't let him leave. Get every question answered. And I do mean walk around with a pad and pencil and jot everything down. So, I mean, and I say that with experience. I cannot rely on this memory. That's a third reason why I make these videos. Because, I mean, and I think I'm not alone in this. If you do something and then you don't do it again for a year, I sit there and I scratch my head going, how did I do that? Well, now I got a video I can go back and see. So, have I tried, Pradeep Datta wants to know, have I tried out Mach 4? I have not tried Mach 4. I'm still using Mach 3, and the main reason is because it works. And I've bought it, I have the license, it works, and I believe that if something isn't broke, you shouldn't fix it until it is. It's fine. I don't see, personally, any reason for me to upgrade to Mach 4, because I don't know how much of an upgrade it would actually be. But I know a few people who use it. They love it. I will say this. If you are just starting out and you don't have Mach 3 or Mach 4, I would certainly go for Mach 4. Always try to stay up to date on that. So if I didn't have either one of them yet and I was going to purchase one, I would get Mach 4. For sure. So, let's see. Yeah, David Roby bought Cut 2D first. It is great learning software. It's very basic, yes, but it is good for what it's designed to do. Then upgraded to VCarve desktop. Love it, and it's all you need. Well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, I mean, there are a lot of people making some excellent things with VCarve, desktop and Pro. So, yeah, Pradeep, if you're using Mach 3 presently and you're not having any problems and everything is working good, I think why change it if it works? You know, that's just my opinion. You may have need for Mach 4, but I personally don't, so I don't see the need to change. So, okay, well, we kind of got off the subject, but that's fine. If we don't really have any other questions, I don't want to run these for, like I do with Dave Gatton or my partner Eloy Escojedo on the Trampled Underfoot podcast. I don't want to run this into a 2-hour epic, which would be easy for me to do. But if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this up and say thank you to everybody. I really do appreciate you joining me for the first one. And before I do this, let's do this. Before I do this, is there anything in VCarve or Aspire um, that you haven't seen explained that you would like to see explained? Or is there uh, one of the tools, the methods, or techniques that you're really not sure about? Okay, George Chambers says he does have Photo VCarve and have used it for lithophanes. Yes, I will be making a video on Photo VCarve. I own it, but I have not gotten into it enough to even try to use it yet. And much to my shame, I've had it for about 3 years now, and I still have only gotten into it a couple of times. I need to sit down with it. I've got a couple of projects I really need to get done in it, and I really need to get going on it. Robert Melrose says he'd like to see laser. I don't have a laser anymore. I used to, and I had a K40 laser. It was not a good experience. It ended up getting sent back because it was so freight damaged. I couldn't get it aligned, and I've decided to save my pennies on a bigger, better unit. So, but so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up then, and thank everybody for checking it out. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday afternoon with me. I know this cuts into shop time, so let's go ahead and get out there and make some chips. Catch me on all my social media, and let's see some pictures of your stuff. Okay. All right. Catch you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.